I would recognize you.
See who's here. We've got Suzanne, Bill, Rick, Helen, Rich, and me. And the only one missing, I guess, is Aaron. And Aaron, you're on, right?
Yes, I am. Thanks.
She is.
Suzanne, who is in the audience?
Okay. Carrie and Alice Williams, and Riggles, Aaron, Kristen, and Matthias.
Okay. Back in the golf cart.
Yeah, Valerie Horseman.
Valerie Horseman,
Okay.
and the Shall, is that the Shall Crosses?
Yeah, they just go back.
Yeah.
Shot crosses, isn't it? Oh.
Well, again, they may be at the
There I am.
gathering there.
Yeah. At some point.
Okay, why don't you make that?
Well, okay. All of you who have joined either last year but didn't, 2020, but didn't get a phone directory. This year it's the same one. We didn't print a new one. So if you got one last year, you got the latest edition. But I have them with me. If you have joined UCCA last year or this year and did not get a phone book, this is the honor system. I didn't bring them. And I have phone books. And if you just want to kind of remind your grandkids, your renters, whoever, I've got a bunch of these that you could put. It's just simple, you know, the law or calling the sheriff or anything else. But I've got plenty of these for your golf carts. And in fact, boats and fun golf carts.
Happily.
Okay.
All right. Does everybody have a copy of the agenda for today? Everyone has a copy? Okay. David, you have approved agenda on here. Do we need to have a motion to?
It's probably not necessary as long as everybody's satisfied. There's nothing on there that's concerning.
Yes, is there, if anybody has any additions or has problem with anything on the agenda?
It's gonna take a little coffee to get through this.
You know, I'm gonna sell it. Is anybody using that? No,
Yeah, right there. Good in the shade.
That way I can see. Is that good? Okay, that's better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Next on the agenda, minutes from the previous meeting. Suzanne, what's David?
David's down.
Yeah, I think so.
Rick.
I have no idea what the agenda, what the minutes for the previous meeting were. You didn't bring them.
So we sent them around. You might
We all
know that
agreed
there's
with
any need to-
I move we accept. Second to that?
Second.
Maybe you could just mention to everybody that that's where they are.
Yeah, the minutes to the last meeting are online on the UCCA website. So you can go there if you need to review the meetings to the minutes to the November meeting.
Okay. Election results, nominating committee. Who was on the nominating committee? You and I. So, do you want to do the honors?
We had an online election, 3 positions every year, 3 board positions retire. They can stand for re-election or not. And other people may volunteer or be nominated. So we had 5 nominees. The people who are elected are Dave for this class of 2023, David Bolmy,
Bill Fry.
Bill Fry, I just did a blank,
And Swen.
and Swinford. And we're glad to have them on the board. And so we're a board of 9 now. And
And if anybody doesn't know if we'd be happy to introduce ourselves if some of you haven't met us. I'm Jackie Burns. I'm the president.
Rich Gross, Vice President.
Sue Ann Cowser.
Bill Fry.
Rick Nolan,
David Bowman.
Swinford.
And Helen Justice.
And
And Aaron
Aaron's
is
on
on
the
the-
Oh, and
phone.
Aaron's on the.
Eh, eh.
On the phone, okay. Island Access Fund is the next
That was,
item on the agenda.
and that was related to the vote, right? That was part of the
That's
poll,
part of the-
election of
exactly.
officers and the Island Access Fund.
Exactly.
Okay.
Sue Ann, explain what it was on the ballot. So-
Yes, yes.
Go ahead.
Oh, do you want me to- What? I didn't know I was gonna.
Oh, well, I mean, it was part of the election ballot,
It
right?
was, and I forget the percentages, but the majority said just leave the fund where it is, untouchable, except for like, oh God, for Island Access. And I don't know that we can do a sleight of hand and pretend that Island Access really meant internet. I mean, we all knew that that wasn't what meant by Island Access.
My better side.
It's about 52%. 48%. So.
Sorry about the chainsaw.
Yeah.
David speaks kind of loud.
So here's one of those things. So we're trying something different here, and that is to have a board meeting, a general meeting outside via Zoom, which is good. COVID days, outside is good. Social distance, that's all good. Unfortunately, when you go outside, you get what you get. So you get chainsaws, you get airplanes, you get tractors going by. So we'll do our best to do this. So one of the things that I had a list there on your agenda of 4 things to cover related to communication and the website update. So historically, we have had in the bylaws 2 different positions related to communications secretary and also a recording secretary. So the election that we did vote those 2 different positions. I'm the communications secretary and Rick is the recording secretary, hence he's taking the notes. And the communications secretary would be the one sending out emails and notices and those kind of things. And I also manage the website. So I'm going to explain a few things that we talked about in our board meeting as initiatives for the membership. One is the addition of a frequently asked questions page on the website. And that is abbreviated FAQ. So for those who don't see that very often, that's what that means when it's FAQ fact. Frequently asked questions. And so the purpose of that is to have a place on the website where the public can go and look and search if they need to for specific questions that answers to commonly asked questions. For example, how do I join UCCA? Or how do I log into my account? Or things like that. Or other things of the community that we want to put together to say, like, what's the deal about this internet access? It's really slow. Or other things we don't control, but we can compile some information to put out. People can know. They're commonly asked because a lot of people who's in a buy house and they've never. We do. So like, why does Lee County not do all of our stuff like the rest they do on the mainland? Try to asking the same questions to the individual members or the public and have a place to be able to go to. So that's added. I will send out an email to the membership just for people or to our subscriber list, and so you know it's there, how to see it. It should be pretty easy to get there. But that's one of those frequently asked questions. So trying to do that. Second thing is I will send an email out to the membership, and that is an option for the membership to choose electronic notice and access to the newsletter. So we'll send an email, and the easy steps to do that if you want to choose to get it electronically and decide not to get it in a paper form. And I'll, in the email that I send out, it'll be abundantly clear, and I'll make it absolutely clear at this point that this is an option for people to use if they choose to. It's not to stop doing the newsletter. It's not stop mailing stop printing. It's simply an option for those who decide they want to get it electronically. That's all. So I'll send out an email. Y'all get an email about that as members of UCCA. That brings me to a thing, though, that I want to make sure is we continue to send emails out to membership and to a subscriber list right now on our website, which is in the almost a 500 people count. But members, particularly, if you are not receiving emails from the UCCA email system and you should expect to get it, send an email to info@uppercaptiva-civic-association.org, and I'll make sure that you get added. There are some people who have chosen to subscribe to the email list, but they have not confirmed that email. This is important because this day and age, there are bad people that would send your email into things and subscribe you up for things, and you don't even know about it. So in this case, we want to absolutely sure whoever's signing up means it. So if you've not been receiving emails and you want to, be sure you talk to me, and I'll make sure that you get on the list. And if that's important, because a lot of this is going to be communicated out through email. The third thing on the list is member-only content. So members of UCCA have access to a page on our website. You have to log in. There's user ID and password, or a login name. You can use your email to get special member content. That's things that are only for the members. So there are valuable things there, a member directory and other things. And over time, this will continue to increase in the amount of things that are going to be added there that only members have access to. So just if you've never logged on before, you don't know about that, one of these emails, particularly the one about the electronic newsletter option, it tells you there how to log in and what to do if you don't know how to log in. The final thing is membership renewal. So membership is an annual membership from January 1st to December 31st every year. So there's been to date one email that went out and a posting on the website to say, hey guys, it's time to renew. And so to date, there are 99 people that are members have renewed for 2021. And there are 61 people that were members in 2020 but have not renewed yet. And there are some number of people that have older memberships that have not renewed. That's
May
all.
I ask, is that households? Or
That's households.
Okay.
It's households. So of the normal 143 or thereabouts, that's where we're at.
Oh, I know.
And we know that there have been people move away. So we know that, and new homeowners have bought. So this is in flux. So we understand that. Shortly after this meeting, I will send out an email, another reminder for those that have not yet renewed that were members in 2020. I'll send an email out to those, the 2019, 2018 members, is to say, hey, we want you back, kind of thing. But just know, it's an easy online renewal, or you can print out a paper form and give a check and mail it, or give it to the identified person. So that's where we're at on membership renewal.
I have a question, David. For those of us that choose to get the paper copy of the newsletter, how do we go about it? Do we just send a request to you?
You don't have to change anything. And that'll be part of the email notice. But if you do nothing, you'll continue to copy just like you always have. You don't have to do anything. Only the people that would want to choose to have the option to let you would have to do anything. And it could be changed at any time. There will be instructions on how to update that.
All right.
For membership, you put a Zelle or Venmo or something?
So if you do it online, you can pay with a credit card, or you can pay with PayPal. Either way. At this time, those are the only two payment methods supported by the plugin that we use. or there's the check and
Okay.
mailing.
What's that?
Any other questions for David?
I have one more question, David. If, for the membership renewal, when there's a husband, wife or spouse, whatever, can they choose to both be listed? Because like LA and I have different last names, so she's a little bent that I'm listed
Yeah.
because I happen to be the one who
Just give in to
renewed
her.
So,
and not her. And I'd be happy.
Hear you.
busted.
It's like a voice from above.
All right, so I talked to LA about this morning, just
Yeah.
in fact. So here's what the deal is. So the membership system is designed around a single household membership, and
Yeah.
as you know, there are primary and secondary names on that.
Yeah.
And so what we're going to do is in the case of a primary name, where the household has people with two different last names, I'm going to put brackets and a last name next to the primary name so that there's a knowledge and searchableness to that, so that you can see the two connected. If that man LA said that was great, so you're out of luck, man.
She's a strong and independent woman, so
And
make sure she gets what she wants.
He's out of arm's reach.
So what I will try to do is identify those. There are not that many households in that scenario, and I'll reach out to those folks to make sure that it's okay to advertise that as that. It seems that way, but I don't want to assume. I'll talk to Sue Ann because she's had conversations with people over time about, certain circumstances that may or may not be something they want to do, and we'll get that worked out. And it shouldn't take very long.
Okay, thanks, Dave.
Okay, any other questions of David? All right, next on the agenda, the treasurer's report. Helen?
Okay, did you post that on the
Yes, I
website
did.
already? So I have a couple copies if they would want them. I didn't do that many of them. Do I need to give these out? Should I?
Wait.
Okay.
So may I just say about the
For us. I'm
posting
talking
part?
about for us. Sure.
So just so you guys know,
Yeah,
I hope, again, back to the email notice, I hope that you received an email about this meeting, and the meeting, there's a special page on the website about the meeting. It has the Zoom call in, either connection or the whatever, and it also has the meeting notes for what's going on. So agenda, documents, those kinds of things. So just know, if you want to see that ahead of time, you can do that. And also know that you'll see an archive over time of those things that have gone on. So you'll see a row in there about the last meeting. So you'll see the information about the last meeting, and you'll see the recorded, or in that case, a video of the full general membership meeting, if you want to watch 2 hours of fun and games. But we'll do the same for this one. Zoom's being recorded, I hope. It is. Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to give you the fourth quarter financial statement. We're a cash flow in and out. So we took in $450 in the fourth quarter for dues, really for 2021. But it comes in the fourth quarter, which would be October, November, December, and that's where it gets slotted. So that was our only income in the fourth quarter. Administrative, we spent $94. We spent money on the park stickers that Sue Ann showed you of $232.85. Total expenses were $326.85. We began with a balance of $25,868.64. And we ended with a balance in the fourth quarter of $25,991.79. Over the total year, we basically netted about $1,800, and that is, we normally there's about $25,000 of working money in UCCA at any given time. That's kind of where it runs. It has between 24 and 30,000. We had a big expenditure in the second quarter, and this is all online, as David posted it last night on the website, so anybody can go and look at it. Our big expenditure this year was $5,000 to the road commission, or to the road work, and that was a Kingfisher, and everybody on Kingfisher agreed, the owners, to donate money, and if they came up with, what was the exact amount, do you know, like
They had to come up with
they had to come up with
$25,000.
$25,000, and the UCCA would match it, $20,000, And Joanne Beermeister did most of the soliciting for all of that $25,000 on that road, and door to door banging on doors, and she was able to get those people to donate. And so Kingfisher, if you haven't driven down it, has turned out quite nicely as far as roads. They're our biggest problem, if you don't know that on the
And
island.
thank you to Joanne.
And so thank
very
you
much.
to Joanne for all of that. It was really kind of a great success story, because if you live on roads that are bad and you want them fixed, we don't get any money from the county for roads, so.
Ellen,
We
I'd
have
like
to
to
do it.
say that almost everybody that I went to gave me at least.
I think when most people understand how the system works, it's like, don't complain if you don't want, there's a solution. It costs money, the way it is. Okay, does anybody have any questions on that? All right, so then we did a little bit of a budget for this year. The 2021 budget. We usually take in about $6,000 per year on membership, and that's what, about 130, like you said, 130 to 140 households. It's pretty straight lined year after year. We have two really big fundraisers, that usually do bring money into the UCCA, and every 2 years we do a so we are not budgeting anything in 2021 for phone book, because we will not be doing one. And then the other one is some type of, we've done an island festival of some type that brings in our money. Other than that, our main income comes from the dues, the membership dues. Our expenses will be for administrative about 500. We carry about 2,500 for insurance. We carry policies. What are they called? Liability, just general liability policies. The mailing for the Brazilian pepper budgeted for, I didn't change that yet. We're over that budget. It's not a big deal. Again, the phone book we won't be doing, and then we do a newsletter 3 times a year. That's average about $1,500 of expense to us. So our total expenses will be right around $4,900. 6,000 outcome expenses of $4,900 leaves us a net income of about $1,000. And we, as the board, can really amend this budget at any time that we see fit on expense. So that's it. Anybody have questions on that? Okay.
Okay.
Wow. Do we have to approve this thing? Or is it-
And our total bank, I think,
Oh, well.
the total bank balance.
Okay, so I'm sorry. Yeah. The Island Access Fund, and I think Swin's going to talk a little bit more about this down into the board initiative, but the Island Access Fund has $101,000, $310,000.62. Again, that was earmarked way back for an island, a dock, or some way to get a boat onto the island. It cannot be spent for anything other than that, unless the membership, general membership, approves to have that money put somewhere else. That's what that vote was on the last election, buddy. And the approval was to leave it right where it is. And so that's where it is, and that's where it's going to stay until something else is done on that. So when you read the financial online, that you're going to see that in there too. The Island Access Fund, it gives us a total of about $127,302.
And also, we welcome suggestions from
Absolutely.
anybody on
Everybody get
ideas on how to spend that money. If you have an idea that you think would be for the good of the island, please let us know. Motion to approve the,
Who seconded?
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Rick and Bill, Brazilian peppers next on our list.
As I'm sure most of you know by now, some years ago, I caucused with Lee County and decided to put into place several initiatives, one of which is called Brazilian pepper, another dark sky, and then there's a third variance, I think it was. Brazilian pepper is the big one because it costs money. See behind you there, nice group of Brazilian pepper plants. If you want to eradicate them off the lot, I've heard estimates from $3,000 to $5,000. If you're a new home or even an established home, you won't have them because you got rid of them. But if you own lots, and some people here and some people, a lot of people who aren't here do own lots that aren't developed. And the requirement was for all of those to be eradicated by the 1st of this month. You see, that has not been done. The short story is it kind of, I won't say it dropped out of the picture, but it dropped out of the picture. It was raised several times in these meetings, but nobody ever really acted on it. And until David Bomey poked the sleeping bear of the county saying, you know, what are you going to do with this? The county was somewhat surprised by that, and I think probably it had dropped off their radar screen. Having dropped off, they didn't know what to do. So for 4 months, we've been in more or less continuous contact with them, email, snail mail, phone calls, and a couple, I think, even personal visits. But the short story is that they are not going to enforce the ordinance that they wrote. Not right now. So nobody's going to have people coming through and clearing their lots and getting a bill for it, whether they want it or not. We know that for sure. We also know that they're willing to work with us on disposal. One of the problems is eradication. Another problem is getting rid of it after it is eradicated. The county's initial position was it would all have to be hauled off island. If any of you have moved furniture or anything else on the island recently, you know that that is a large expense. They have reconsidered their position, practical consideration more than anything else. And they're now, I think, going to be willing to let us to do what we want to do, which is to mulch and spread. We are not totally confident of that yet, but that is the direction in which we think the county is going to go. Joanne has been stick handling this, leading it and working indefatigably to try to get someone in the county to give us some kind of clarity. It has not worked out well. If any of you have an extra 45 minutes or so that you don't know what to do with, I encourage you to go to the county website and look for their table of organization, and you will find 340 pages more notes. That's 340 pages, non-duplicative in our county, and these are the people we support. We are dealing with the lowest level of those people right now because they're slow walking. Slow walking is because we are out here and they are over there, and we are we're a small island and we have few people, and so we are not real high on their radar screen. But at some point we will be, and if we don't take some proactive action now, I can assure you that at some point they will, and we will not like it. We had thought we had a deal with them to give us a year's grace to get this done. That deal is not etched in pencil yet. We thought that they were going to send a letter out to all vacant lot owners. They have not. Therefore, we took initiative and we have sent out to all vacant lot owners, and some of you will get this because you own vacant lots. The one piece of snail mail we've had from them, which doesn't say much, but does say something, and our take on it, along with if you decide to eradicate, some recommendations of people we think are good. These have not been sent to everybody on the island, but only vacant lot owners, having stuffed 270 envelopes. There's a good reason for that. If, however, you would like to take any with you, please come up and grab them here, and we'll tell you where we are. As everything else that we do, it is also posted on our website. That is our primary means of communication. You know this, but it won't hurt to put a point on it. All of the volunteers here. Many of us have other jobs. All of us have families. Some of us would like to have some recreational time. We have committed to doing this. Working for the island, we have a certain amount of time that we can commit to do that. And therefore, we do look at the website as some most efficient and hopefully effective means of communication going forward. So anything that you see in snail mail, anything you get from us that way, you'll also see on the website, sometimes earlier. There are some people who have vacant lots who have not received this letter yet in the mailing. That is who will not receive this letter for a short period of time in the mailing. That is because they are not resident in this country. So we're going to hand address some envelopes, and I'll go over and find out the postage and put them in the post office early next week. and then they will get them as well. But that's about it. Short story, the county will engage with us, but only at a certain level. The county does not know what it wants to do yet, but it is willing, we believe, to be reasonable if we're reasonable with them. This is not the end, but this is the beginning of our engagement with the county. I think we all learned a hard lesson. If you let something drop and you just go to the county when you have a problem or an idea or something like that, and you do it every 4 or 5 years, you're not on their radar screen. They're busy people too, and they're bureaucrats. And if we're 110 on a list of 100 items, that's not so good. So Joanne and I, when the president, decided that we would try to keep an ongoing level of engagement, not necessarily at the county commissioner level, maybe down at the worker bee level, but that's okay. As long as they know we're out here, as long as they know that we have some issues we'd like to work with them on, and as long as they know that we can be a voice for the island if they want to communicate back, then I think that we're going to be able to move some things ahead with it. Once we have resolved Brazilian pepper, we have the Dark Sky Initiative. It has the same genesis as the Brazilian pepper. It is not nearly as difficult to execute, and that's why they, not we, have said, make it number 2, steer with this number 1. Once that is done, we'll have other things that will come up as we go. One of those things we'll be talking about in a minute or two, which is the safe harbor. And that won't be the end of it. So it's going to be our strategy going forward to engage with the county, and at this point in time to engage at a relatively low level. We could escalate the next day to a commissioner level. If we do, we've used our silver bullet one time. If we go on something that's not critically important to us, that won't be good. If we go and we manage to tick off people in the middle and the lower levels of Lee County, that also will not be good. Therefore, it's been the board decision to try to keep this at the entry level. The people actually come out here, look at what we do, and, if necessary, work with us to remediate. What we're not going to do is go right up to the top unless we find that we're being slow walked so much that we can't get any traction, or we find that we're not finding any kind of reasonable accommodation of the people that we've chosen to work with. So an ongoing process, we're right at the beginning, and our goal is always, since we are a small island, to present ourselves in the best possible way to the county and any other stakeholders in the county. Questions?
Have you had anybody come out from the county yet?
People have come out from the county, but despite Joanne's tremendous effort to get them engaged out here, they kept her, at arm's length. I expect that they will continue to do that until they learn that we can be trusted. Joanne?
I just want to mention that Carol Lease, the young lady that we both spoke to, never called me back. I called 3 times, different times of the day, and she's the low man on the totem pole. We know that. But we really, unless you got a hold of her, but I left a message 3 times and she never called back.
Nope, and that's going to be par for the course, I'm afraid. We're now working with a woman named Emily Gear, who also seems to be quite young and somewhat inexperienced and at an entry level, and that's okay. Hopefully we can get her on side and get a voice inside the organization there and broaden and deepen our penetration. That's going to be our strategy unless we find it doesn't work, in which case we'll come up with a new one. Questions?
Since this was a local initiative, can you articulate in the best case scenario what it is that we want from the county?
Certainly. What we want in the best case scenario is flexibility. We want flexibility in when we have to eradicate the Brazilian pepper. We want flexibility in what we have to do after it has been cut down and garboned and everything else. We don't want to find ourselves with a hard time frame that we can't meet without incredible efforts or extraordinary expenditures. What I think we will get is up to perhaps a 2-year grace period. Joanne went in and asked for a year, and they came back with, well, we don't know if we're going to do this or that, but we won't cite you right away. Our best would be total flexibility. What I think we're going to get is a pretty good ramp up. And I do think actually that with the help of some people that Swin is putting us in touch with, the Sanibel Captiva Conservation Foundation, and the experience of some people on the island, some whom, like Bill Fry is on the board, have dealt with this. Others like Dan Davenport or Safety Harbor Club, who have dealt with it on a large scale. we found that in fact you can safely mulch if you're careful and spread the stuff and it does not come back. And I believe that we will be able to make that argument with clean hands with the county, and I believe we'll get a good hearing on it.
Yeah, I think the other thing we've talked about in getting is clear direction on what's required. Because it's been kind of, Swin is the great example. He's tried to do the right thing and ended up going round and round with the county because he didn't follow certain like protocols and make certain requests for permits beforehand. So we want clarity on what permit is required, what kinds of permits are required, what's the cost, those kind of things, so that we can advise the island owned lot owners, like, here's the steps, do this, then that, then this, then that. And we need that direction from them. Because if you ask one person at the county, they might say it's this approach, and you actually ask the person on the ground, the environmental guy, he says, no, you got to do this first. So we got to get clarity.
So I'll speak to that just real quick. So what happened back in 2014 when the ordinance got made is it was a great idea. Hey, let's all eradicate Brazilian pepper, but no process was created.
That's right.
when that happened, right? And so now the county is having to figure out that process today. And sometime between 2014 and 2020, they sort of changed the rules. So it used to be on the website, on the web page, you don't need a permit to eradicate an exotic species, which Brazilian pepper is. That is no longer the case. They require a permit. And then, as Rick sort of mentioned, and what they're doing now is they're taking each parcel on a case-by-case basis. So I did that. I have a lot and bought it. It was like, I'm going to go ahead and eradicate Brazilian pepper, get it taken off, reach out to the county because I want to do a vegetation permit, right, to move some stuff around. They come out, they see that the Brazilian pepper, and they're like, oh, you've violated the ordinance, and code enforcement came back and said no violation, but I've been dealing with them for months now because I've got a pile of Brazilian pepper there. How do you want me to eradicate it? So in all this back and forth of, do we mulch? Do they want us to haul it off? They came back to me this last week and said, it's been determined that you can dispose of it any way you see fit, which it's like, okay, well, I'm going to do that, but the next person, it's going to be different, and that's wrong, right? We need a solid process of what it's going to do. And, as Rick mentioned, it's this communication thing. They really don't understand who and what we are. Like Emily Gear, she's new to that department. She's young. She has no idea that there's no county dump on this island. You can't just like take it, hey, let me go dump it over here. Hauling it off, a ridiculous, sort of process. So that's sort of where we are is
The best story is Joanne's when she said, well, we need, you guys to come and see what it's like out here. It's a jungle, basically. We're subtropical climate. And they said, oh, we don't need to do it. Well, kind of do. And they said, well, we're really concerned. And what they are really concerned about is the gopher bugs. They want to make sure that that is not, that species. But they said, well, we'll just come out and, don't do anything with your lot. If you got peppers on it, we'll walk through and we'll tell you what you have to do, to see that the gopher tortoises are protected. Well, I challenge anyone here to walk through what's behind you. It's not an easy thing. So, long story short, third time around, we do need to present ourselves in the best way. We are at an entry level and we're sticking with that strategy. We believe that they will give us flexibility on disposal. We are working towards flexibility on time. There are copies here of their letter to us and ours out to the vacant lot orders. If you want them, you can have them on the website, whichever you choose.
Rick, I totally appreciate what you're saying and that we got caught a little bit behind the curve between 2014 and January 1st of 2021. But I disagree with the idea that we should have total flexibility on time frame. The genesis of this whole thing is lots like that. And the people who live here don't need lots like that next door. I know where I live over on Oyster Shell, I had a lot like that. And every year I'd come back and the pepper was growing underneath my house.
Amen.
So I would just, I would just say for you and Joanne, maybe not total flexibility. I understand some flexibility, but let's let's present to the county a reasonable date in the future at which we want some enforcement. Because I
Joanne,
think we do
Sorry.
eventually want enforcement.
Okay, you were right, and I was wrong. Joanne actually did tell them, give us a year, give us a year and we'll get rid of it. And they, I don't know why, haven't said yes, haven't said no, just said, we'll give you time. I hear what you're saying, and I understand if we don't have a deadline, a year from now, we could be having the same conversation without having much movement, and that's no good either. So you're right.
That's right. And the empty lot owners that let their lot look like that, they're not doing us any favors. That's an invasive species. The island did not look that way 20 years ago, and it's a problem.
It is a problem. It has to be eradicated. At the same time, let's make sure that we do give ourselves time. There aren't that many people that do it.
Yeah.
It takes time to do it, and it can take up to $5,000 to do it. This is not, throw out $100.
Oh,
I do think you'll find in Rick's letter, this is a great first start, because what hasn't happened between 2014 and now hasn't informed any property owner that this is an ordinance and that you need to do this. And neither have we, right? It has been mentioned in meetings through the years for sure. But if you didn't come to this meeting, if you're not a member of UCCA, which many of these lot owners bought 25 years ago, 15 years ago, they've never come back. They have no idea. And so this letter now informs them of the ordinance, gives them contacts to island vendors who can, help take away. A lot of those island vendors are waiting, not on necessarily us, but for the county to sort of communicate with us like, well, how do you want us to do it? Because at my lot, JJ froze up and was like, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to get fined, and all like that.
There's two things that have to happen. One, an ongoing dialogue with the county so that we can influence them and they can hopefully give us some clarity at some point in time. Again, you don't want to push it too hard, because I don't want some bureaucrat to say you got 6 months, because then you stick to this. The other thing is letting people know, people who aren't here, people who aren't on Zoom, people who aren't calling in. So, like Swin just said, and I was missing not saying earlier, this is the first step. When we know more, we'll send out more. We could have sent out this letter a month ago and said essentially the same thing, but a month ago, we thought that they were going to send out a letter and they were going to be proactive. They are less so, so we are more so. Anything else?
I want to mention a couple of things too that they said to me. You can't cut other kinds of trees that, are protected, but sometimes you can't get to the pepper unless you would cut the other tree. And so you're darned if you don't, and darned if you do. That's
True. The fine is risible. It's $30 plus $1 a tree, but the rest of it, the clearing is not. Anything else? Okay.
Thanks, Rick. Next on the agenda, golf carts, Bill. And also, Carrie, you were doing something with the golf cart issue too.
Yeah, I had been working on some language that people can put into their rental agreements that would protect against the situation that happened to Dr. Chris and that kid that hurt himself badly.
After Bill, can you tell us what, after he's finished, if you could just give us.
So last Monday, I volunteered to try to put together something about what we think the right solution going forward is, because it's voluntary on whatever we get owners to actually enforce. Because as we all know, the county has no lawful ability to do anything about golf carts unless there is a crime or a major accident that involves personal injury. And even then, they're restricted in what they do because our pathways, as we all know, are private. They're not county maintained or county. So Tuesday, this last week, I sent out an email as an initial step to Boats and Fun, NCIC, Tortuga, and Jennifer Parker and a number of other businesses to try to start gathering together what they've got in their standard existing agreements. Because I want to start trying to gather together and identify maybe what best practices, what best
a 40-minute Zoom. Is that the problem? Were they on the free Zoom?
Thing after 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah. When you only have the free account, it shuts you down at 40 minutes.
Aha.
That's
No.
Let me see if I can give
Can you hear us?
Teresa or Swen a call.
Oh, they're back.
Oh, they're back. Okay, good.
Somehow it's muted. I don't know how.
No, they're not.
All right, we'll get
Oh, okay.
So anyway, the short-term goal is to gather as much information as we got from documents, and then to try to start talking with islanders, with owners that don't rent, owners that rent, because it affects both groups. If it's not appropriate for renters' kids to be driving and they're, this is probably 3 years old, then it's also not appropriate for owners. At least in my personal opinion. The only reason I volunteered to work that as my first task is that back in the summer I did a number of informal polls on 2 different Facebook groups. And if you watch the homeowner Facebook page, the thing that seems to excite everybody is golf carts. And so we continue to complain about the problem, but not done anything proactively to try to at least identify what could be best practices, what liabilities are for owners that rent, owners that don't rent, and so on. So that's kind of where I'm going, and my goal is before the next general meeting is to have an idea of what the existing language is, and to try to identify some beginning language, create a straw man rental agreement, a straw man rules of the road, straw man being just something that folks can pick at and knock down, pull individual threads or straws out. But the idea is by the end of the rental season this year, before summer starts, for us to have some kind of meaningful solution that we can get all of the owners, all of the people that rent to voluntarily accept. Because it's going to have to be voluntary. There's nothing out here other than in Safety Harbor Club that has any authority. Safety Harbor Club is the only official homeowners association on the island, and they do have rules about golf carts and other vehicles. So, yeah, Chris.
Quick question, consequences. What are do you have those in the plan?
Well, my feeling is that it ought to include the idea of identifying all of our golf carts with some kind of numbering system or some kind of identifying system, so that when folks see it and they want to post it on Facebook, folks have to look at it and say, I don't think that's my cart.
They're frozen.
My cart, and it's my nephew's, and I'm on the island right now doing it. So that's the first step. Second step is the property managers, if they're willing to do the enforcement, the kind of enforcement that seems to be possible is just taking the golf carts away from them and not giving them refunds for their use of the cart. Yeah, but that's going to be kind of tough, because then you're going to get into arguments with renters, and I paid $3,000 for this, and I can do anything I want, and so on and so on.
Yeah, I mean, there's really no enforcement. It's going to have to be self-regulation and acceptance of self-regulation enforcement by owners. And we'll never get 100%, right? There'd be some that just like, I'm cool with my 6-year-old driving a car. Technically, that is against state law, but how do you enforce it, right? Sheriff would have to be there, see it, and then cite them, for that at that moment. So it'll be hard. It's standards and the acceptance of that and trying an enforcement system.
It's like any problem. First, you have to recognize that we have a problem. We all recognize we got a problem. Now we got to take the next steps to actually try to do something.
Yeah, this is Linda Hansen. I rent my house a lot, and I had a problem this last summer with renters coming down, deciding to start drinking right away. Within an hour, one of them had taken a golf cart, run it into a palm tree, cracked up the cart, damaged the tree. And when we tried to take the cart away from them, we were told, no, I wasn't drunk. There's no way you can say that. You don't have any way to test it. It wasn't my fault. The golf cart was defective. And if you take the golf carts away, we are going to give you a 0 rating and trash you on VRBO and make sure we do our best to see that no one else ever rents from you.
Yeah, there are other.
Oh, God.
You know, what do you do at that point? There's no one I can turn them into. There's no rule I can cite. I can't tell their blood alcohol. And I ended up with a bill for a golf cart repair that we know how it happened, but they wouldn't pay it and I'm stuck. So I don't know what we do. I'd love to see what Safety Harbor has done, if that's effective, but I really ran into a problem there.
Linda, this is Ann Caroline. Hey there. Swin has this service that he uses that kind of overlays on top of VRBO, and it has a better insurance thing. The insurance thing that VRBO offers, the policy belongs to the renter and they never pay for anything. But that solves part of the liability thing on repairs. But as far as enforcement of rules, I don't know.
David?
So I think that's the point here, is that Bill's going to pull together all the best practices from the different people that rent on the island and come up with some suggestions. And that, like those kinds of examples you just mentioned, are those situations. But we all have to understand, if we rent, even if we can mitigate it to the best of our ability, but at the end of the day, that's one of those business decisions. If you're going to rent, you're going to have that kind of crazy stuff. And hopefully we can put the best coverage we can into those rental agreements that makes sense to minimize that, because there's always going to be weird stuff. You know, there's no way to do it. So I think that's what Bill's doing. And hopefully when it comes out the back end before our next general meeting, it will have some review you guys can look at, and just as he said, say, well, what about this situation, or what about that? But until we get a good best start into this, I think that's where we're at.
And I plan on doing additional informal polls on the 2 Facebook groups in the next couple of weeks. I also spoke very briefly with the sheriff's deputies that provide coverage out here to the island, and they said they've got some draft rental contracts from a single rental company that pretty well controls all rentals on Captiva and South Sea Plantation. And so the idea is to try to find out from Captiva and other places what has seemed to work for them, and see if we can shrink it down and make it fit in our strange. So, subject to other questions. That's all I've got.
One option would be to make them rent golf carts from the Island Club and not give them your personal golf cart.
Wait a second.
How does that help?
The question.
Well, because it's not your golf cart that's getting torn up.
Guys, hold on.
From now on, who's speaking?
The question here on the ground first was, what happens if a new owner decides to buy an electric car, bring a Tesla out, or to bring a gas engine car out? The answer is there is absolutely nothing in law or ordinance that limits any of that. The only limiter that exists is inside Safety Harbor Club and how they enforce what transits down Harbor Bend. Anybody can have anything that they want. What we have to do is convince them that that's not the right thing to do. They bought here for a particular reason, we think, and but it's all volunteer.
Maybe that ought to be something that's on the UCCA website as a suggestion. You know, basically, the majority of people that come out here, ride golf carts.
Well, I think those of us that rent our homes, we actually tell people that the only way you're getting out here is by boat, since most of us don't have an air.
That's for renters. Right. Yeah, you brought up something interesting. So Safety Harbor could actually deny people to drive through.
That's what they say. They've got signs posted at both entrances up on Bend. I'm not sure how enforceable that is.
Yeah. I did have a brief conversation with Fox on this, and his view was the law is one thing and practicality is another. Okay, in their covenants, as he calls it, Safety Harbor. They own basically the middle of the island, and they can put limitations on the types of vehicles that cross their section of the island, but they cannot deny access. So for example, if you want to go from the north to the south, they can't tell you no, but they can restrict you. For example,
On how you go through it.
well, for construction, for example, with Dan Davenport, he was driving a lot through there, and they said, "Hey, Dan, look, man, we got to have some understanding here. It's got to be from this hour to this hour, and you got to try to minimize it." They've worked with NCIC, Brian Brilhart. Like, come on, can't we get rid of some of these golf carts that you've got that are actually gas powered and glide us slowly moving in that direction? So there are reasonable and practical things that they can do, but they are. This is me speaking, and not Fox. Okay? They are concerned that if they ever really put a blanket prohibition on someone, they could go to court and they might lose because reasonable access will trump property rights in this case.
Especially for decades.
So let's go online. So everyone who's online or dialed in, when you speak up and say your name when you start, please.
Aaron LaValle.
We have Aaron. Go ahead, Aaron.
No, I was just going to say that the work that is required to, pass some kind of ordinance or whatever we're thinking, I think, Bill, it's a job, and I appreciate, all of the effort that is happening. So good luck. I'll do anything you need me to do.
Again, to be clear for the folks that are on the call, it's likely not to be an ordinance. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be an ordinance. It is going to be a voluntary agreement, property owners out here to try to get everyone to agree to a baseline level of standards for themselves and for their renters.
So real quick, just to just to speak to that, back in the 2012-14 era when Brazilian Pepper and Dark Skies happened, there was an attempt at golf cart ordinance, and the county commissioners did not agree with it and did not allow it. So taking that path again is probably a dead end, thus sort of the path for self-regulation.
Right.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Can we hear from Carrie now?
Okay, just very briefly, first of all, if I was renting my house, I would not allow them to use my golf carts. That's probably your best solution for the homeowners, to just chain up your golf cart and in your agreement require them to get their golf carts from Brian or one of the 3 or 4 suppliers. One advantage of that is that you only have to deal with a couple of people in putting together a proper agreement, and it would probably not affect your VRBO ratings because the rental companies like Brian Brilhart, for example, send out Joseph the metal. To me, that's the best way to do it. But absent that, your protection against the Dr. Chris situation was to have a proper indemnification provision in your rental agreement. I've looked at Brian's agreement. I agreed to review Brian's agreement, fix it up, and there's nothing in there about what happens if there's somebody's injured using the golf cart. Who takes on the liability? You want that liability to pass to the operator of the golf cart. With Dr. Chris, he sued I believe he sued the homeowner who allowed the use of the golf cart. And I don't understand. I don't know exactly what happened with respect to the defendant in that case, but I understand they had to sell their house as a result of that. That may or may not be correct. So you need a strong indemnity agreement. If you're going to lease a house with a golf cart, my recommendation is don't lease the golf cart with the rental. Make them go to Boats and Fun or somebody else and let them manage it.
So I have a couple additions to that real quick. Agree with that, except I don't think any one vendor probably has the space or the capacity to serve the entire island. So you're definitely going to end up with people that have their own carts and you'd have to do your own research here, but I rent our homes and I've got a very large liability umbrella policy. You have to check with your policy. For me, if we include the carts in the rental of the house, we don't rent them separately to it, then I'm covered under that umbrella agreement. If I rent my carts separate from the rental agreement of the house, then it's not covered. Additionally, the thing I would say on top of that, one of the big things on self-regulation is slow down your carts. Any cart after about 2005 has a chip system in it with 2 to 4 settings, and just go to the lowest setting. Make your carts that your guests are using slow and not fun, not exciting. If you bumped into a tree with it, it's probably gonna be okay. You're gonna do a little bit of damage, but not the same if you're going 20 miles an hour versus 11 miles an hour. It's a big difference.
Okay, are there any
Hey,
more
Swin, can you do that yourself, lower the speed? Or do you have to get someone else to do it?
No, but I know Derek on the island does it. He's done it to all of ours.
Tortuga also.
Any golf cart mechanic could do it. It would be a good thing, possibly, Bill, to research the DIY,
There's a YouTube video on how to do it, and it's not, you could do it. It's just maybe easier if a golf cart guy does, but just Google how to chip down a club car and you'll see.
The chip down day?
No, but that could be like, it could be qualification. You need a computer to do it, and it's not cheap to do it. So, but you need a computer for each type of golf cart, and then it's easy to do. But that's something we could all do it as a community and get a computer, and then everybody voluntarily can come in, plug it in, and we knock it down. Like at both we looked at it, it's expensive to do it ourselves. So we go to Derek, we go to Lucas, or we do it on the mainland and we chip them down. So ours are all knocked down.
Yeah.
But we have to go to somebody with a computer to do it. That could be a cool thing for
info.
us.
I think that's great info, Bill.
Yeah.
To really, it's like, that's really tangible. That's something somebody can do.
We could do that
tomorrow.
now.
Or
yeah,
that's a real tangible item that is going to really help.
Slowing them down will help a lot.
Yeah. We have less flipping and.
Anyone else online? Questions?
I was going to comment on something someone commented earlier. They had a problem with the bad reviewing on Verbo. This is Lacey Farley, by the way. So we've had similar situations. So you have to be really careful how you deal with the people when you do have a problem. And one, you can enforce taking the golf cart away. You don't have to prove that they've been drinking or anything like that. You can have in your rental agreement that if there's damage to the golf cart, it's your right to remove the golf cart from their, from their possession. But what I have started doing, and it has seemed to really, really help, is at the very first day of their rental, like before they've even arrived, I send a welcome email and I explain to them that we have back-to-back rentals. So it's very important that we're told right away of any kind of damage or loss to any of the property, including the golf carts. And I explain to them that they have purchased an insurance policy that covers up to $5,000 in damages to anything. So, please let us know if anything were to happen with any of the golf carts. That way we can file a claim for you and it won't cost you any out-of-pocket money to myself or them. And my initial concern with doing that was that they would now have basically like a free ticket to go joyriding and wreck the carts. I have not found that to be the case. What I have found though is with that email and then another one basically at the close of their stay, they're very upfront. They're like, yeah, I don't know what happened, but the tire, just got flat. Well, you look at it, obviously they have an injury from the sidewall. So they probably were, who knows where with it. But either way, I'm covered as a renter and I'm covered from getting a bad review. And they agreed to the claim at that point.
That's a good point. And And I don't think I said it, anybody that's on the call or in the meeting, if you've got some good language, some good emails, some good notices, if you could email those to me, I will gather them together and try to nug them down into a relatively small but coherent set of possibilities for to be discussed. So I'm going to call for that same kind of information on some informal polls on Facebook. But anybody that's on the call, please email me whatever you've got. You can email me at bill.fry, F-R-Y, at uppercaptivacivicAssociation.org.
Thanks, Bill.
One more question. How have you thought about having like some open register where you can put people's names in there? It's like we have an ongoing list of people who have been problematic in the past that we know not to get them a golf cart. But at the same time, they crash somebody else's home golf cart and they come to us and we don't know who they are. Well, we'll go through our procedures, but we'll send them out again. But somehow we have an ongoing list that we can all check, and we're like, hey, that group is problematic.
We have one.
Yeah, there's a formal one on the Island Homeowners Facebook group that's kept in a Excel file.
Okay. And is there a way for non-homeowners? So I'm not a homeowner. I own a business, but I get denied of that group every time I apply for it. Conversation of people that
We've got to be able to talk about you is why.
When's the last time you applied?
A month ago, and then a year
I'll
ago.
talk to Nicole. Mateus and Caroline, I'll ask Nicole about that. Tom is on that list, so I think you probably should be also. Not the list, but in the group.
But let's don't get distracted. Yes, we'll take care of it.
Okay, anything else on golf carts?
It's not really a question, but basically my 2 cents. As far as what Carrie said about not including the golf carts, that's a great idea. However, I think that will slow down in rentals because there isn't like both of them. They don't have enough carts to go around. I think the rentals take a hit. One thing that I've seen, because I've managed a few properties, when I check people in, I make it absolutely clear how they have to respect the carts and the property, but especially if they have small children, like they cannot be driving. It's not against the law, but if the homeowner is notified, they can take your cart away, and that makes something happen. I never have a problem with that. And as far as NCIC rentals, when they have their golf carts, their property golf carts waiting for them, they don't have to key in them anymore. They have, I guess there's a way you don't have to have a key. They put it in the on position, so anybody can jump in your cart and take off. A lot of people don't know that. I think that's dangerous.
Yeah. Last thing for me, just as a homeowner who rents, I could never ever use NCIC carts. They're crap. I would never put my in those carts.
Moving right along.
Brian just told me last week that he has, I think, 30 brand new golf carts coming. So the older carts for NCIC, I think, are being phased out pretty quickly. Just FYI.
Okay.
We're good.
Jackie, I want to say one last thing about the golf carts. The other day, I stopped someone who had a little one that was about 6 years old, and I told him children are not supposed to be driving golf carts. Yesterday, I stopped the same person with the same little kid driving, and he told me he talked to the sheriff's department, and they said if he wants, they can't stop him. So I think if you could get the cooperation of the sheriff's department before anything else, that might really be a good thing.
The problem is that they can't do it.
The sheriffs have to be
I know
honest
they
and tell them
can't,
the
but
facts.
maybe there's a way they can try to do something, ridiculous.
The problem is they're not, it's already been determined the sheriff is not going to do something. So like it's been discussed, it really has to be on an individual level with the people that own these carts. And I think most people renting their carts are concerned. Like if there was some way of knowing what house that cart belonged to, if you had called the owner or the property manager, then that would have been a whole different probably end to their day because the cart would have been taken away. And so everyone really needs to identify their carts. And I'm guilty of that myself. I have 8 golf carts between my 2 houses and I don't have any identification on them yet. So I'm working on that. But I think, you know, once we have identification on the different carts, it's nothing to report it to the property manager or the homeowner. And then it's up to them. And hopefully we're all pretty much in agreement that the cart gets taken away, or they at least get one warning and then it gets taken away, something of that nature.
Cool. I think we're gonna move on. I think it's on Bill now to come back to
Moving
everyone.
on to island
Anything if I don't have to
access,
solve it.
island access evaluations, Swin and David.
Cool. So the Island Access Fund was on, you know, the election. It got voted to keep that fund for now. And, you know, what my goal now is to go and see what are the possibilities of that, using that fund, right? It was originally set up to buy a docking parcel for island access in 2021. Is that even possible from a permitting and zoning standpoint, and or just financially, right? There's $101,000. If it's going to cost $400,000 to do it, it's a non-issue. It can't happen. The other thing that I'm investigating with the county is, you know, docks are zoned just like properties, residential, multifamily, commercial, right? So there are no commercial docks for sale that I know of right now, unless you buy a $700,000 piece of land and put one on there. So, you know, could we even buy a residential lot and use that for the island access? Or, you know, if you can't, you need to get it rezoned to C1. Is that possible? What's the process? What's the cost? And so it's really, you know, kind of proving that if we were to go down that route, is it financially possible? Is it feasible? And if not, then we have no choice but to look to other areas.
Yeah, I think that the board discussed this matter and really wanted to come up with the information that would allow people to make a good choice if that came to be the time to say, yes, we'd like to spend that money, or no, we wouldn't. It answers questions like Swin just outlined, or how much does it cost to carry insurance? Or how much does it cost generally as normal for maintenance or whatever? It seems premature to ask the question, hey, everybody, do we want to do something with a dock and island access, and not provide the information, hey, everybody, if we do island access, this is what it costs and here's what the complications are. And so I think that was the board's idea, and Swin volunteered for that, to go gather that information together to get some real good the best information we can get. To say, here's what about would cost if we were to do it in a real dock right now on North Captiva Island. And here's the associated costs, so that if we were to present it, then you'd have the right information.
Yeah. And part of it, as we move forward and we make that determination, and then, you know, we throw out there, you know, does the island need a public access dock or not? You know, part of looking at that is not necessarily the logistics of, hey, NCIC, you know, and Island Girl have their services, their private captains and all like that. The reality is that if you use a private captain for anything today, there is no legal place for them to land. Wherever they land, whether it's at NCIC, Safety Harbor, unless they've got agreement with Safety Harbor Club, they're actually landing illegally. So, you know, that would be the thing that I would throw out there. It's not as much the will people use it every day, but there needs to be that legal access for those sort of things that are not NCIC, that are not Safety Harbor Club, that are not Mainstay. Another thing is to look at the reality, and UCCA used to do this with the Skinners. Is there a possibility of just a lease, an annual lease, you know, for some access that isn't dropping 100 grand plus a lot of money each year?
So, I mean, we've seen this island access for a long time now, and you have $100,000 sitting in a thing that nothing is being put into it anymore. And the reality of the situation is you're really not going to buy a dock for 100,000. So it almost seems to be a moot point. There are lots of good points about, but it's
Well,
it's not enough money to.
So you can buy a dock. There's a dock in the Sierra Canal for sale right now for 79,000, but it's zone residential. Can you actually
exactly? Can you?
But do we have the answer of
Right.
can that use be done for that? What would the cost be to get it rezoned C1? Because the docks right next to it are C1.
So that's the point, is that the board is simply, Swin is nominated to go gather information and bring it back to the general membership. Say, here's what we got.
So is there a timeline on that?
I'm working on it. I've already got insurance quotes. I'm waiting on county zoning department to call me back to talk about the zoning of the docks and what is required.
You might want to consider a permanent easement at an existing commercial dock also.
Right.
Rather than a yearly rental that you were talking
So
about.
I do have a call into Tom over at Mainstay, because that would be one of the most obvious ones. There's plenty of docks there.
Yeah.
Or what about Duncan's? I mean, he has that. I mean,
Yeah.
right.
Also talking to Duncan,
Yeah,
his
I
new
mean,
one,
there's-
because he
right,
has two docks right there that are connected to that. Yeah.
Any more questions of either Swin or David? Okay. Moving on, Swin, safe harbor.
So this topic is really, and I'll have this to the board this week, is sort of a proposal on setting up communication with not just the membership, but with the entire community to start discussing the Safe Harbor Marina proposed development and what the community wants there. I mean, this is just my opinion. I think that probably the majority, if it just didn't have to happen, we'd all be perfectly fine with that.
Survey results. Your survey results.
Yeah, so my survey results, I did an informal survey in that and put up, are you for it? No problem with development. Are you into managed development with community input? Or are you 100% against, or do you not have enough information? And so as a few days ago, it was about 15 people avidly against the development, about 25 that were for managed development with major community input. About 25 people felt like they didn't have enough information, and 2 people voted it's their land, they can do whatever they want with it.
I'm lost here. What exactly is the safe harbor?
I was going to say.
Yeah. So
I'm not
okay.
sure
So yeah.
I was going to.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not
So
sure everybody knew.
Yeah.
what's
So
going on.
so I'll back up real quick. So Safe Harbor Marinas is a very large conglomerate that owns 108 marinas around the country and manages others. They're actually now owned by a much larger real estate REIT. Yeah. And so they came out in mid-December and did a presentation, and the property is a commercial lot that's over here on the point.
Right.
Yeah, on the point area, right in the middle.
Ancient Beach.
Yeah, Ancient Beach, right.
That's what I tried to get.
Yeah, and so their proposal is to develop some treehouse style bungalows, 10 of them on that property that will only be for use by their members. So their members would have the ability to go, hey, I'm going to go to North Captiva Island. I'm going to stay in this bungalow for 2 days, 3 days, 4 days. They would then have to, according to the company, they would have to go to Pineland Marina, check in, and then get on Island Girls Ferry to come over here to then be brought to their bungalow and checked in for however many days. There's just a lot of questions over the overall development and what that means environmentally impacting our island, the traffic, how do those people get around, right? Is it on golf carts, is it on foot? And then the overall logistics of it. Personally, if I were a boat owner and I, was a member of their dock club and I was from Sarasota, the idea of me boating down from Sarasota to park at Pineland Marina to get on a ferry to come over here and not have my boat on this island, I don't see that as a reality.
Okay, so you don't have to go on,
Yeah.
I get the gist of it. So your survey asking people whether they were for it, against it,
Mhm.
didn't have enough. How did you send this? Was this out on
So that,
Facebook?
super,
I
super
don't do
informal.
Facebook, but you can add me to add.
Right.
Adamantly, I don't want it.
Yeah, so super informal. And so the idea now is, you know, UCCA, do we want to, you know, reach out, communicate with the community, set up an official UCCA poll, right? Get that information in and start that discussion.
Yeah,
I think it's on the website.
It's on the website.
So there's,
You can
so,
click on the UCCA website and
But
they have a
I think there
presentation.
should be a regular survey like we do the you know, other surveys.
so,
The
so,
membership. Whole membership. Yeah, of the whole membership.
so one of the things that the board talked about this last board meeting was that there's, and I've informed them that there's a way we can add a survey thing to the website. We can also communicate out to people like, here's how you get to it, but it will do that what we're talking about in an easy way, right? So that people can make votes and
I think the email surveys is much easier for me.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So there's an
Yes.
email and a combination of both.
That's really kind of our whole objective is we really, and it's been said here a couple times, we really, our website is going to be our main way of communication with everybody. And so if you are a member, you should use that venue. David does a great job with the website. There's just a plethora of information out there that that we're going to use
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, and for information, it's great, but when you have a really important survey, the email will at least get to people for sure. Because some people might not look at the website.
But that's what he's saying is
go ahead.
So you're gonna have both.
So, but whenever we send out emails, for example, on Safe Harbor, right? We sent out an email to say, hey, there's a new news story out on the website about Safe Harbor. People who get that would then be able to click a button and go, here's the news story.
Right.
So did you see that in your email? Or are you on that email list?
She may not be a subscriber.
That's my question, not to point anybody out. I'm just saying.
Well, I get emails from you all the time.
Okay, so you might have missed it, but in any case, that's the idea, is that if you're not subscribed, and I'm not saying you're not, but if someone was not subscribed, they would not get an email to say, go look at the website, because we don't post things and not like, hey, there's something out there to let them get email. So
That's the point I'm making. He always sends, when stuff is posted on the website, he sends an email to tell you it's posted on the website, go there and look at it.
I might have missed that.
It's okay.
I usually
He does, sends a link and all.
Carrie?
Two comments. Number one is I hear they bought the lot next to that.
They haven't. That was a mistake. So what happened is the parcel on the other side of that is what actually went under contract, and the realtor made a mistake and chose that one. So that is not the case.
Realtor mistake.
Yeah.
The second thing is when I went to that meeting, I asked them this question. I said, is there any minimum amount of stay, and is there any maximum number of people per unit? And he said, there's no minimum stay and there's no maximum. He blew off the maximum and said, well, there's only one bed. But these people have 40,000 members, 10,000 members of which are college-age kids and younger kids. And I never heard of a one bed limiting college-age kids to how many people will be in a room.
Yeah. So what my proposal to the board this week will be, and then we'll see how it goes, is speaking to the emails and possibly missing them, is trying every communication vessel possible, whether that's, some posts on Facebook, emails, word of mouth to each other, and then, quite possibly a island-wide Zoom that we can get on and do a Q&A. I don't know. So I'm going to propose a lot so we can reach the maximum number of people to get the best input.
All right. Next is conservation. Swin, you have that one also?
Yep. So, part of the problems that we deal with today and the island's dealt with for 10, 15 years, golf cart traffic, renters, right? 15, 20 years ago, there wasn't Airbnb, there wasn't HomeAway, VRBO. So the landscape of the island has changed over the last decade heavily. I personally would love to see less of that. I can't imagine seeing the island with 250 more homes on it. I don't think it's sustainable. So, you know, for me, I've been reaching out to SCCF, Sanibel Captiva Conservation Foundation. Had many good conversations with Ryan Orgera, who's their executive director. And SCCF, Upper Captiva is firmly within their mission statement. It's not Sanibel Captiva and we're over here. We're part of their mission statement. If you include our entire island, they're the #1 landowner on the island, mostly on the south end. But they want to get involved on the north end. And when you say conservation, it's not just land conservation. That's dealing with our wildlife, you know, our gopher tortoises, the indigo snake, all the birds, the turtles, everything. Also our native vegetation, and then land conservation. So to me, we really have to start this effort because we're, as you guys know, there's so many homes going up right now. Davenport's working on 9 simultaneous developments right now. And we're probably looking at 15 to 20 plus new homes a year for the next few years. And so we're not going to start now and draw down 100 lots off the rolls, you know, in the next few years. But if we don't start, we won't make any progress. So
Explain that effort, 'cause no one's heard that.
What's that?
Explain that effort about buying them.
Yeah, so you know, when you talk about land conservation, the #1 thing to do to conserve land is to get a conservation easement. And all that is the landowner granting a conservation easement so that property cannot be built on in the future. They would still own the land. Their property taxes would go to 0 except for special assessment property taxes. And then there are also federal tax benefits to that conservation easement. So part of that effort is educationally to go out to property owners and see if we can get conservation easements. Maybe this lot owner bought 20 years ago, they're never going to build. When you look at the math of them selling this lot and then taking their tax hit on their capital gains versus doing the conservation easement and getting the tax benefit, they're probably a $20,000 difference. So it's going out and convincing current landowners, hey, would you grant a conservation easement, stuff like that. SCCF will help in that. They have donors. They will help us organize to pull in donations and maybe even matching funds from their big donors. And then some of it is community-wise, just buying up lots. If we can't pull the funds ourselves, it's getting, you know, like if I owned a house down here and David owns this one, us going in together, we buy that piece of property together, take it off the property rolls and stuff like that. So SCCF is committed to help us identify in the initial stretch, basically targeted lots that are strategic to take off the building rolls and everything, as well as look at the wildlife vegetation. Ryan's committed to me that by July, which is the beginning of their fiscal year, he's going to have a new full-time person for SCCF that will spend 50% of their time on Upper Captiva under conservation efforts.
Okay, anybody have any questions to Swin on this issue? Next on the agenda, island cleanup. Usually, and for as many years as I can remember, island cleanup has been Valentine's Island around Valentine's Day. This year, because of COVID, it's been suggested that maybe we put it off for a couple of months, and I would like to get everybody's feeling on how they feel about that. Normally, it would be in February. I'm thinking it might be a good idea to put it off until sometime in April. We have a lot of people on the island, and when we gather for island cleanup, we gather at the firehouse, and there is a mob of people, and no social distancing at all is possible. So I would like to get your feelings on the timing of island cleanup.
Well, I feel that it's outdoors and we could ask people when they gather, when they're, yes, I'll do Rum Road, or whatever, that they can wear masks. We ask them to wear masks. Obviously, everybody's outdoors. And when we actually are doing the cleaning up, you aren't, you're doing it with your spouse or a pair of people that you will not worried about the
Yeah, I think so.
distancing. And you could do it together.
I'm with Sue Ann.
Yeah.
Everyone's got their mask. Most people doing the cleanup are families, but there is the concern, as was first mentioned, about maybe a horde of people gathering in one place at the fire station. Why couldn't it be organized where maybe there's several locations that, prearranged, like, okay, if your name is A through D, you meet at the, whatever property, and maybe just have it broken up. That way it could still go as planned, because our island still needs to be cleaned up, and who knows how long this is going to last. It's already been put off and put off.
We just do it by neighborhood. I know I do my neighborhood.
Well, it has to be coordinated with Danny, so that Danny's the one that so graciously hauls all of the trash off for us.
There's that new app, I think, Sue Ann gave it to me, called Clean Flow. And you can like take a picture of all the garbage that you gathered that day, just like post it, just to see what,
You can, but it still has to be put somewhere.
Yeah, and it's not just gathering
Right.
initially at the firehouse.
Right.
After you pick up all the garbage that you have to go to a drop-off point.
Right.
Danny,
I got
there's a lot of interaction.
I got an idea. Why can't everybody just form a line when they pick up, drop off? I mean, you can stay up there. Just ask everybody to, just form a line, spread out, and get your assignment, go, get your assignment, go, drop off, go, off, go. I mean, people are already so accustomed to social distancing. Why is that a problem?
Yeah.
And February is a cool month. It's a lot easier to get some trash in February than April.
And there's nothing wrong if it's set up this way. You just do a virtual sign-in, a virtual assignment. It doesn't, you shouldn't have to wait until the morning of at the fire station to actually get what your assignment's going to be. Most of us, when we've done it, we put like a bid in for our own street or an area that we'll accept to do if our street is already taken. All of that can be done online. It's just
email assignments.
Right. It's just
so you
picking
don't
up.
have to need-
It's just at a central site at some point, or multiple central sites, you got to pick up the bags. And then as has been said by others, turning it in at Danny's drop off, you just spread out. I mean, it's not,
Drop it off.
it's not rocket science.
And we would do away with the beans and rice at
Yes,
Right.
that's fine.
the main street.
And does it have to be done over one day, or could we have the trash can during an entire week and we get organized over a week? Does it have to be in a single day?
We would have to check with Danny about that.
Yeah, that might make it
Danny
hard
is
for
the one that
Danny.
usually provides the big construction bags, and he has a lot to do with this.
Because he doesn't
Good.
charge us for it.
Yeah.
No, it
It's
doesn't.
his donation.
Our family's participated in that for 8 years. Masks, it's easy to stay a little bit away. I don't see changing pretty much anything, in my opinion.
Jackie, I think if everybody's required to wear a mask.
Yes.
Just say that. If you want to come do
When
it,
you're
you must
gathering.
wear a mask.
That you're gonna gather.
You mean when you're gathing to bring your garbage back
Yeah,
to
you
the
don't have to
firehouse?
while you're picking
Sure,
it up, but
sure.
when you come
Well,
back.
because usually, yeah, people are assigned to a street. You know,
Fine.
Mark and I, it's our street. Yeah, we'll take that street, whatever. Usually people stay close to home.
So I get the feeling everyone would like to leave it on the
As
date
is.
that it is.
And 13th,
February 13th.
Saturday, February
We're gonna
13th.
do electronic sign-in.
Yes.
Well, a busy day for check-in and
Yeah,
check-out.
it's Yeah, and that's what happens too, like with businesses, it always happens on a weekend. We would love to work this day, but that's impossible for us because we need every hand on deck to get everybody coming in and leaving. So if it could be, if we could have a second day that happened on a Wednesday or Tuesday, something like that, you might get a lot of participation for people that are busy checking all the guests in and out. And February, it's not a light month for the island either.
Rich, how about if you and I talk about a proposal and put it out in an email? Why don't we do that?
Good, Mike.
Make it a weekday instead of a Saturday.
Yeah.
Could, I was thinking, yeah, I was thinking about Dan. I mean, he has a work site there, and if everybody's, it
Yeah.
could interfere on a weekday with
That
his
could be an issue.
operation.
We have to check with them, because that definitely could be an issue.
I'd like to throw out the idea that maybe a second like fall island cleanup be added.
Well, we do one in September.
Is it September? Okay.
Yeah, I've been doing, it's called
coastal.
International
Or
Coastal
coastal, yes.
Cleanup.
Okay.
Lacey Farley and her family participate, and Nicole Rossi, different number of you.
That's what Nicole's talking about with the app.
All right, so Rich and I will we'll get together and
Modify Dan.
formulate some sort of a plan and email it to everybody. And Sue Ann, then you can circulate. But we definitely picked the date for February the 13th. Or are we going, no.
I could be here in February.
To be able to participate. All right, is there anything else on island cleanup? Anything else on any topic that's you want to discuss?
I would just like to mention one thing. Especially you folks who have renters, you rent your house. I have seen on Facebook where renters say, what three things should we definitely bring? And there have been people that said, water, water, water. Please make sure you have an RO system at your kitchen sink, a reverse osmosis filter, and encourage people to not bring water, to bring their favorite water bottle. Everybody's got their favorite water bottle, and to refill it. But then the owners of every house must see to it. If you rent your house a lot to many people, you probably should change your filters twice a year. If it's just normal use, once should be enough. If wrong name. If Clark Ivano is the one who has installed your RO system, he will provide delivered to your house the correct filters. So if you're not sure what kind of a filter to buy for your system, he is willing to provide the filter. Now, if you want him to install it, that will cost you. But the filter, he is willing to deliver, just so we won't have so many plastic water bottles that the county does not recycle. And you see them unloading off the boats, just flat after flat water bottles. And that's just unnecessary.
And renters need to know that they can drink the water. It should be on your site that there is filtered water in the rental house, that they do not need to bring water.
You think
It's
maybe we
clean,
could
filtered
do
water.
a fundraiser and sell some water bottles, insulated water bottles with Upper Captiva Civic Association on, and how good it works, and we don't need to bring water to that.
Great idea.
And then
You can set it up
the
as a
rent-
pre-order so we know how many.
Oh,
to
there's
order.
even a better idea.
Great idea.
Do it as a pre-order. Get everyone on board.
get it- all the renters, all the homeowners that rent their houses, just supply the water bottles, so when people come here, they got something to fill up.
Yeah, I'm a renter and I supplied water bottles and there aren't any left anymore.
I was gonna say the same thing. It's a souvenir. They'll disappear the
They
first
fit
week.
right- Yeah, they fit into the suitcases real nicely.
Charge them in your insurance policy.
Just add it to your rental cost. All good.
All right, you can go on Amazon and you can buy a testing kit for under $30. I have one. Just put it in the water. As long as your water has under 200 parts per million, that's good. I just changed my filters. It was 43 parts per million. If you test it out of the wells, it's 500-600 parts per million. So, I'd recommend that if you're going to drink your water out of your RO system, get a testing thing and just check it every few days.
Any other comments on the water?
For the last 9 months, I've been beating on a drum about minutes that have been missing, financials that have been missing. And what I'd like to do is a huge shout out to Sue Ann. She found all of, or recreated all of the old minutes, reformatted them. David got them all posted on the website. All of that's current now. Helen on financials, she's got all of 2020 now on the website, and she'll be working for 2015 to 2019 to get all those missing documents on. So I think they did a great job in finding it and getting it posted, because that's the only way that folks that don't attend the meetings because they're not here or don't have the time to dial in on a Sunday is reading the minutes to find out what things have been accomplished, what things have been worked on, and what things have been discussed ad nauseum that may or may not have a solution. So again, a huge shout out to all three of them for the work.
Just one. We've talked a lot. I've got about 3 pages of notes here for the meeting minutes. They're now mine. Sue's done her job. Now I gotta do it. Not as well. There's something that struck me. We have normal kind of turnover on the board. We have new people here. We have people who have volunteered to do things. You've heard us. You've given us ideas. You've challenged us. You've brought up other thoughts that we wouldn't have. This is what this meeting is for. If you think that is the extent of your involvement, I don't think so. We're willing to put our time and effort into this, and we're going to ask something for you. We're going to ask more than being in this meeting, virtually or in person. We need members. At some point in time, I give you my personal guarantee that one of us will stand in front of a county commissioner, and that commissioner will fix him with a beady eye and say, how many people do you represent on that island? And if we say we represent 1/3 of the island, they'll say, really, thank you for stopping in. We need, if we're going to be a voice for this island, and if we're going to represent ourselves in the best way possible to people outside as well as inside the island, to be able to say with good heart that we do in fact represent the majority of the island. We will do stuff on the website. We will do stuff to reach out for conservation projects on Safe Harbor and other things to try to indicate that we bring value to the process and to this island. What we need is for everybody who hears us, for everybody who's a member, to talk to other people who are not members and say, this is an organization you should join. You're not going to agree with everything they do. You may agree with about 60% of what they do, but that's okay because they're doing something and you don't have to. So we're not saying you've got to come on the board, you've got to so many hours a week or anything like that, although if you like to take my, just come right up here and switch chairs, and it's good. Yeah.
But you get the benefit of what you
And what we need is more members. So please talk to your friends, talk to your neighbors on the island. Tell them that we are a new board. We've got a new agenda. We've got a lot to do. We're going to need their help in doing it. But mostly what we need is their help in telling people that we're here and we're a good organization and they should join. That's it.
Thank you. And if you need a phone directory or you want some decals for your golf cart.
Sure.
I want to say something about the phone. I don't know if you realize that. Can I have it for a minute? I want to show them. The cover was done by Marion Hall, who's a professional artist, and she charged nothing. And in the inside, I like to look at the advertisers too. If you're looking for somebody that does a certain thing, they're advertised right in here. And they paid for their advertisements and made a lot of money with this phone. So going online for some people is, but I think this is a better option. A lot of money on it too.
Okay. Motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Okay.